హలో ఆల్, వెల్కమ్ బ్యాక్ టు రేడియోగ్రఫీ ఇన్ తెలుగు.
2025లో జరిగిన ఆర్ఆర్బి పారామెడికల్ ఎగ్జామ్లో నేను అటెంప్ట్ చేసిన ఈ 70 మన రేడియోగ్రఫీకి సంబంధించిన ప్రొఫెషనల్ ఎబిలిటీలో 70 క్వశ్చన్స్లో నాకు 49 క్వశ్చన్స్ కరెక్ట్ అయినాయి. సో ఈరోజు ఆ క్వశ్చన్ పేపర్ని నేను మీతో షేర్ చేసుకోవాలనుకుంటున్నాను. సో ఎవరైనా స్టూడెంట్స్ ఉన్నా లేదా ఆల్రెడీ పాస్డ్ అవుట్ అయ్యి జాబ్ చేసుకుంటున్న ఎంప్లాయీస్ ఉన్నా సరే మీరు ఈ క్వశ్చన్ పేపర్ చూసి మీవి ఎన్ని క్వశ్చన్స్ కరెక్ట్ అవుతాయో కామెంట్ చేయండి. ఇంకా ఎవరైనా ఆర్ఆర్బి మన రేడియోగ్రఫీ ఎగ్జామ్ అటెండ్ అయినా కామెంట్ చేయండి. కీ చూసుకొని ఉంటారు కదా, మీకు ఎన్ని కరెక్ట్ అయినాయో కామెంట్ చేయండి. ఇంకెందుకు ఆలస్యం, వీడియోలోకి వెళ్ళిపోదాం. ఫస్ట్ క్వశ్చన్, వాట్ ఈస్ ద ప్రైమరీ పర్పస్ ఆఫ్ rinsing an X-ray film after development? దీనికి రైట్ ఆన్సర్ టు రిమూవ్ ఎక్సెస్ డెవలపర్ అండ్ ప్రివెంట్ న్యూట్రలైజేషన్ ఆఫ్ ఫిక్సర్. నెక్స్ట్, వాట్ ఈస్ ద మంత్లీ ఈక్వలెంట్ డోస్ EQD limit recommended by the NCRP for the embryo fetus after a pregnancy is declared? ఈ క్వశ్చన్ కరెక్ట్ ఆన్సర్ 0.5 millisieverts. Next, why is it important to position the pelvis so that the anterior superior iliac spines are equidistant from the image receptor in an AP erect view? ఈ question correct answer to prevent rotation and obtain a true AP image. Next, what is the main safety feature of a darkroom hopper used in radiography? ఈ క్వశ్చన్ ఆన్సర్ ఇట్ హ్యాస్ టు light tight and X-ray proof doors that cannot be opened simultaneously. Next, which positioning device is often used during cranial radiography to maintain head stability? ఈ క్వశ్చన్ ఆన్సర్ skull clamp or head holder. Next, in the lateral skull projections, where should the collimated horizontal X-ray beam to be directed? ఈ question concern parallel to the interpupillary line at angles to the median sagittal plane. Next, where should the central ray directed for a standard dorsoplantar foot radiography? ఈ question answer over the cuboid navicular joint between the navicular tuberosity and tuberosity of the fifth metatarsal. ఈ క్వశ్చన్ నేను అటెంప్ట్ చేయలేదు. నెక్స్ట్ క్వశ్చన్, which feature in mobile X-ray units enhance radiation safety for the operator? ఈ క్వశ్చన్ ఆన్సర్ long exposure cord and or remote control. Next, what is the primary purpose of DICOM in medical imaging? ఈ క్వశ్చన్ ఆన్సర్ టు స్టాండర్డైజ్ ద ఫార్మాట్ అండ్ కమ్యూనికేషన్ ఆఫ్ మెడికల్ ఇమేజెస్. నెక్స్ట్ క్వశ్చన్, వాట్ ఈస్ ద ప్రైమరీ పర్పస్ ఆఫ్ ఇంటెలిజెంట్ కాలిమేషన్ డ్యూరింగ్ మొబైల్ సిఎం ఇమేజింగ్ ఇన్ థియేటర్? ఈ క్వశ్చన్ ఆన్సర్ టు రిడ్యూస్ స్కాటర్ అండ్ ఇంప్రూవ్ ఇమేజ్ క్వాలిటీ. నెక్స్ట్ క్వశ్చన్, what does the atomic number Z of an atom represent? ఈ క్వశ్చన్ ఆన్సర్ the number of protons in the nucleus. Next, what is the primary benefit of using a balanced gradient system in balanced echo sequences? ఈ క్వశ్చన్ ఆన్సర్ maintains phase coherence in moving spins resulting in a high spatial intensity. So next, what does the transformer law state about the relationship between voltage and the number of turns in the coils? దీనికి ఆన్సర్ voltage is proportional to the number of turns in the coils. Next, what is the primary reason of coherent scattering to be considered unimportant in diagnostic imaging? ఈ క్వశ్చన్ ఆన్సర్ it contributes less than 5% of total interactions and adds minimal image degradation. Next, which of the following is not recommended characteristic of darkroom floor in radiography? ఈ క్వశ్చన్ ఆన్సర్ porous and stain absorbent. Next, what is the primary purpose of bite wing radiography? To detect ఈ క్వశ్చన్ ఆన్సర్ టు డిటెక్ట్ డెంటల్ కేర్స్ అండ్ యాక్సెస్ రీస్టోరేషన్ ఇన్ ప్రీమోలార్ అండ్ మోలార్ టీత్. నెక్స్ట్ క్వశ్చన్, వాట్ మేక్స్ ఫ్రీ రాడికల్స్ హైలీ రియాక్టివ్ అండ్ క్యాపబుల్ ఆఫ్ కాజింగ్ సెల్యులార్ డ్యామేజ్? ఈ క్వశ్చన్ ఆన్సర్ దే ఆర్ అన్పేర్డ్ ఎలక్ట్రాన్స్. నెక్స్ట్, Which of the following statement about CTPA, CT pulmonary angiogram is incorrect? ఈ క్వశ్చన్ ఆన్సర్ ఆప్షన్స్ 4 నేను డైరెక్ట్ ఆన్సర్ చెప్పేస్తున్నాను. ఈ క్వశ్చన్ ఆన్సర్ it delivers a low radiation dose compared to other imaging modalities. It is incorrect. CT అంటేనే high dose of radiation ఉంటుంది తెలుసు కదా. Next question. Which anatomical structure should be clearly visible in a correctly positioned axial calcaneum radiograph? Subtalar joint and subtentaculum tally. Next. According to radiation protection guidelines for KUB radiography, when is gonad shielding not applied for females? When the entire renal tract, including the bladder, must be visualized. Next question. Why is the half valve layer used in fluoroscopy X-ray systems? Why is the half valve layer used in fluoroscopy X-ray systems? A question answer. Beam penetration and total filtration. Next, which of the following is recommended body mechanic principle for radiologic technologist? A question answer. Keep the load close to the body and lift with legs. Next question. What is the optimal patient position for scanning the Achilles tendon using ultrasound? The question answer. Prone with the feet hanging off the edge of the bed. Next. What is the primary purpose of a circuit breaker in an X-ray machine? To protect the equipment and operator from electrical overload or faults. Next question. What is the tolerance limit for tube leakage radiation during QA quality assistance as per standard safety guidelines? E question answer 100 millirads per hour. Next question. In which MRI sequence is magnetic susceptibility artifact most prominently observed? Gradient echo. So susceptibility sequence gradient echo. Next. What is the thermionic emission in the context of X-ray tube operations? The question answer. Escape of electrons from a metal surface due to heat energy. Thermionic emission. Release of electrons. Next. What is the primary purpose of using sterile coverings on mobile fluoroscopy units during invasive procedures? To prevent contamination and protect equipment and patients. Next. Why is copper always used in combination with aluminum in compound X-ray filters? Equation concept to reduce filter thickness and absorb copper's characteristic radiation. Next question. What happens to MRI signal in a vessel when flow velocity increases significantly? The question answer. High velocity signal loss occurs. Next. What is the most important factor in the production of scatter radiation in radiology? Field size. Next. Why are both open and closed mouth TM joint projections commonly taken? The question answer to evaluate the anterior gliding movement of the mandibular condyle. Next. According to AERB guidelines, what is the minimum required of any one side dimensions for CT scan room? The question answer 4 meters. Next. What limits the duration of continuous fluoroscopy when initiating exposure of an X-ray tube from a cold state? The question answer the anode's heat storage capacity. Next. Why should minimal exposure times less than 0.02 seconds to be used in neonatal chest imaging? The question answer to prevent motion artifact చిన్న పిల్లల్లో అప్పుడే పుట్టిన పిల్లల్లో సారీ. నెక్స్ట్. వై ఈజ్ కమ్యూనికేషన్ విత్ యాక్సిడెంట్ అండ్ ఎమర్జెన్సీ స్టాఫ్ ఇంపార్టెంట్ బిఫోర్ బిగినింగ్ ఏ రేడియోగ్రాఫిక్ ఎగ్జామినేషన్ టు అండర్స్టాండ్ ద పేషెంట్ కండిషన్ అండ్ ఎబిలిటీ టు కోఆపరేట్? నెక్స్ట్. What is the heel effect in X-ray production? The question answer. Variation in X-ray beam intensity based on emission angle from the focal spot. Next, what type of X-ray tube movement is most commonly used in cranial radiography to reduce image blur? Linear tomography. Next, which plane divides the body into superior and inferior parts? Axial plane. Transverse. Next, what is the primary function of the emulsion layer in radiographic film? Equation concept to capture and store the latent image using light or X-ray sensitive crystals. Next, what is the patient position in Waters view for maxillary sinuses? Chin and nose touching the image receptor. Sorry, chin touching the image receptor with the orbital line at 45 degrees to the receptor. Next, what is the main purpose of using lead rubber aprons shieldings during radiographic examination? Equations answer to reduce radiation dose. Next, what is the term for the amount of electromagnetic radiation absorbed per unit mass in a patient during an X-ray procedure? Absorbed dose. Next, which component of the CT control console is primarily used to adjust image contrast window width? WW control. Next, which of the following components is part of the X-ray tube cathode and helps direct the electron beam towards the anode focusing cup? Next, what is the main role of the International Commission of Radiological Protection ICRP? Equation concern to provide recommendations for radiation protection and dose limits. Next, how many degrees does each phase in three-phase generator lag behind the previous one? Equation answer 120 degrees. Next, which of the following statements about coherent scattering is true? Equation answer, it includes Thomson and Rayleigh types and does not change the wavelength of radiation. Next, in a scintillation detector, the role of the photomultiplier tube is to convert the light pulses into electric signals. Next, what is the characteristic feature of acoustic enhancement artifact in ultrasound imaging? Equation concept, increased echogenicity of structures distal to hypogenic structure. Next, which of the following is a recommended technique to reduce attenuation type artifacts in ultrasound imaging? Equation concept, change the angle of the transducer to avoid dense structures. Next, for an erect skull PA projection, where should the patient head be positioned in relation to the receptor? Equation concept, the forehead and nose should be in contact with the receptor for skull PA projection. Next, why is obtaining consent important before performing a radiological procedure? To ensure patient autonomy and legal protection. Next, what is a key advantage of using a cylinder instead of a cone for X-ray beam restriction? Beam restriction occurs at the far end, reducing penumbra. Next, why is replacement necessary in an automatic processor developer tank? To restore consumed preservatives and developing agents. Next, in an AP single hip radiograph, how is the central ray directed for optional optimal imaging? Equation concept, 2.5 centimeter distal along the perpendicular bisector between ASIS and the symphysis of pubis. Next, what is the term pitch refers to spiral or helical CT scanning? CT scanning లో pitch దేని రిఫర్ చేస్తుంది? ఈ క్వశ్చన్ కాన్సెప్ట్ ద రేషియో ఆఫ్ టేబుల్ ట్రావెల్ పర్ రొటేషన్ టు ద టోటల్ collimated X-ray beam width. Next, which of the following statements about isotopes is true? Isotopes have the same atomic number but different masses. Which of the following is a characteristic advantage of metal film hangers? They are durable and resistant to corrosion. Next, what is the primary purpose of X-ray beam alignment test? ఈ క్వశ్చన్కి ఆన్సర్ టు వెరిఫై దట్ ద ఎక్స్రే బీమ్ ఈజ్ అలైన్ అండ్ పర్పెండిక్యులర్ టు ద ఇమేజ్ రిసెప్టర్. నెక్స్ట్, విచ్ ఆఫ్ ద ఫాలోయింగ్ బెస్ట్ డిస్క్రైబ్స్ phase mismapping ghosting artifact in MRI? A replication of moving anatomy along the phase encoding direction. Next, what is the primary purpose of a film hanger in radiography? The question answer to securely hold X-ray films during manual processing. Next, what is a common limitation of mobile X-ray units compared to fixed radiograph systems? Limited tube current and power output. Next, what is the primary advantage of flash CT scanning? It allows ultrafast imaging with reduced radiation dose. Next, what is the role of fractionation in beam therapy? To divide the total radiation dose into multiple smaller doses over time. Next, why is the posterior anterior PA projections preferred for relatively fit patients during lumbar spine imaging? It offers better visualization of disc spaces and sacroiliac joints. Next, what is the main purpose of using effervescent powder during double contrast barium swallow? To create gas for esophageal distension. Next, what is the purpose of the cleavage view CV in mammography? To image the posterior medial tissue of both breasts. Next, what is the purpose of aluminum layer in a copper aluminum compound filter? To absorb the characteristic radiation produced by the copper. Next, and last question, which of the following statements best explains why nuclei with an odd number are important in MRI? The imbalance between protons and neutrons gives the nucleus a net spin, enabling interactions with the magnetic field. That's all ఫ్రెండ్స్. ఈ 70 క్వశ్చన్స్లో నేను 49 కరెక్ట్గా అటెంప్ట్ చేయగలిగాను. అండ్ రాంగ్ ఆన్సర్స్ కూడా ఉన్నాయి. చూద్దాం. ఐఎమ్ వెయిటింగ్ ఫర్ ద రిజల్ట్స్. మీరు కూడా మీరు ఎన్ని క్వశ్చన్స్ కరెక్ట్గా చెప్పగలిగారో కామెంట్ చేయండి. థ్యాంక్ యూ.